What I saw in that room was one of the most troubling things I've seen in my time in public service. You have two individuals in clear distress, without any means of locomotion, with a destroyed vessel, who were killed by the United States.
I didn't see anything disturbing about it. What's disturbing to me is that millions of Americans have died from drugs being run to America by these cartels.
Lawmakers are divided after viewing this full video of the controversial September airstrike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean that killed surviving crew members. Let's bring in Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon, who's a member of the House Armed Services Committee and saw that full video. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Of course. So you attended this briefing with Admiral Bradley. You saw the second video. You heard what he told lawmakers. In your opinion, was this second strike appropriate? And why are we hearing such vastly different readouts on whether or not it was?
Well, Jackie, obviously, for me anyway, anytime you see human life being snuffed out, it's disturbing, but it's unfortunately necessary when you're running a nation state and there's bad guys galore across the globe. Nobody was saying anything about when Barack Obama ordered 563 strikes that killed somewhere between 2,200 and 3,800 people, most of which were Islamo-fundamentalist terrorists. So if they were in a pickup truck and we ordered a strike and a couple of survivors made it out, you order a second strike because they need to be killed. They're intent on doing harm to Americans. So there's no difference in ordering a second strike here just because it's in the Gulf of America. So it was kind of like surf and turf, to be honest. With terrorists, everything is on the menu.
Okay. The president says that land strikes in Venezuela on these drugs and drug smugglers could begin soon. Ostensibly, the Venezuelan military could become a variable in that operation. So in that context, it's putting the rules of engagement a little bit more in the spotlight with these strikes in the Caribbean and surrounding areas. NBC is reporting that Admiral Bradley watched survivors for more than 30 minutes after the initial strike, and, quote, the military's overhead surveillance zoomed in to ensure the survivors weren't injured or bleeding. A U.S. military aircraft spotted the survivors waving their arms, but couldn't say with certainty whether they were signaling to the aircraft. Bradley told these lawmakers that Secretary of War Hegseth had ordered the military to kill all 11 people on board, according to this NBC report, because they were on an internal list of narco-terrorists who could be legally targeted. That is according to this new NBC report. So can you explain, with all of that, how that's different from a no-quarter order? Is it that they were not injured and hadn't surrendered, and would it have been different if it was clear that they were?
Well, Jackie, this is the way I look at it. World War II was the greatest challenge we've had as a nation. And we lost 400,000 people during that conflict in about over 4 years. That's about 296 a day. We're losing 80,000 Americans to opioid overdoses every year. It's about 219 a day. So there's an asymmetrical war being waged against the United States of America. And these are not combatants. These are terrorists. These are narco-terrorists. They had poison, toxins on that boat that could have killed thousands of Americans. So they knew what they were doing. And when you make those choices, there's consequences. They took risks and they lost.
So I hear your point about the boat and about the drugs on the boat. And Bradley in this briefing seemed to lay out three variables as the reasoning for these additional strikes: the survivors, the boat itself, and the drugs. The drugs, he said, were not destroyed, which were considered the threat. But he also said that the drugs were headed to South America and then on to Europe or Africa. My question to you is, what are the rules of engagement here? Has the U.S. military been ordered to take out drugs that are headed anywhere in the world?
Well, it's hard to know. If you have to see the intel yourself. I haven't seen that particular intel for that particular boat, but they're going. They could be going to the United States. They could be going to Europe or our allies. And the fact of the matter is that is a boat full of toxins. They are narco-terrorists. And when you go into international waters, you're taking on those risks. And we don't know if they were trying to radio for. We didn't have assets in the area to swoop them up. And if they were maybe signaling other terrorists, it's hard to say. So this, to me, is a lot like the rules of engagement, the laws of armed conflict. A nation has a right to an inherent right, for that matter, to self-defense, just like when Barack Obama ordered those strikes and during his administration.
Okay. President Trump said that he would support releasing whatever video the Pentagon has, but Secretary Hegseth did not seem to commit to that, talking about it yesterday. Listen here.
We are reviewing it right now.
Is that a yes or no?
That is, the most important thing to me are the ongoing operations in the Caribbean with our folks that use bespoke capabilities, techniques, procedures in the process. I'm way more interested in protecting that than anything else. So we're reviewing the process and we'll see.
You know, the Pentagon did release video of the first strike without revealing bespoke capabilities. You've seen the second strike video. Do you think that it should come out?
I'm all for transparency, and I agree with the president. And it's just you want to make certain, like what Secretary Hegseth said, or Hegseth said, that you don't want to reveal, methods and such. But so long as it might be a slightly edited version. But yeah, I think that the American people certainly should see it.
Okay. And where is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs in all of this? It just sort of strikes me that we haven't heard from him on this. His job is to be giving military advice. I understand he was in the meeting with you and with Bradley. Did he advise anything on this strike or on the subsequent strikes where you've seen, at least in 2 incidents in October, survivors treated differently than they were in the September strike?
I think Joint Chiefs of Staff Kane is doing a fabulous job. I just haven't spoken to him about this. I don't know what his thoughts are.
Okay. On these land strikes that are expected to begin soon, Maduro is getting this message. Listen here.
The full might and power of all parts of American strength are being shown to these guys, and Maduro's been told, pack your bags and get out, or you will suffer the consequences. And I think he's going to leave. I think that's being negotiated. And this is going to be a victory for the Trump administration, showing that the Western Hemisphere is no place for other bad actors to think they can play.
So do you think Maduro is close to abdicating? And if that happens, are these land strikes going to happen anyway?
That's a great question. I mean, listen, I hope he is, because he's just an authoritarian scumbag who's run that nation state, Venezuela, into a death spiral. He was part of it and has been for quite a while. So I would love to see him go. It'd be great for the Venezuelan people to get them back on the right track toward democracy, free markets, rule of law, all the things that have been lacking for way too long in that country. And we have a special particular interest because it is in the Western Hemisphere and it is in our sphere of influence going back for centuries.
Do you think, though, that the land strikes should happen anyway if he abdicates? Because the administration has said over and over again that this is about the drugs, not necessarily Maduro. Mm-hmm. So is that sort of...
Jackie, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Now, I saw a video yesterday of a very young Joe Biden saying that these drug lords and drug cartels shouldn't have safe havens and we should hit them where they operate. And I actually agree with this much younger version of Joe Biden, and the president seems to as well. So we want to keep them guessing. If Maduro leaves, the focus really should be on getting a government in Venezuela that will cooperate with the United States, and jointly let's attack the drug cartels and weaken them and hopefully eradicate them.
And finally, because we're almost out of time, you're on the Armed Services Committee. Do you have a sense of how soon we could see those land strikes happening?
Obviously, I can't answer that with any specificity for reasons about protecting American troops and assets. But you know what President Trump has done? He's created deterrence. And he has sent that clear message to Maduro that your days are numbered and that the drug cartels have no safe havens, and the United States will act boldly to protect its citizens. Because if we're not safe, then we're not free. And President Trump is making us much safer.
All right, Congressman Pat Fallon, thank you very much for joining the Sunday briefing this morning. Really appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Jack.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.